Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Benji-Sales live chat. It's so good to be back. It's so good to see everybody. How are you doing today? I hope you're all doing amazing. I hope you are all doing awesome. We have so much to talk about today, guys. This is a big stream, a very big stream. I'm super excited for it. We have like a ridiculous amount of topics to talk about today. Like it's no shortage, right? I think it was last week that we were talking, and it was like, it was okay, but I think this is going to be a great stream. I think it's going to be super good. So what are some of the topics we can talk about today? Well, there's some huge ones. I'm sure you've already seen a bunch in my title and a bunch in the image for my thumbnail, but here is kind of the overarching things that we're going to discuss today. First of all, of course, just today, Mortal Kombat 1 has been revealed. Now, this game was leaked a while ago that it was coming. We all knew that there was a new Mortal Kombat this year, but up until the last, like, 2 weeks, we all thought it was Mortal Kombat 12. And then all of a sudden, we got some leaks that, no, it's Mortal Kombat 1. And we were all like, what exactly does that mean? Well, the trailer today essentially told us exactly what that means. Mortal Kombat 1 is both a sequel and a reboot, which is interesting. It's doing both at the same time. So this game technically does follow the events of Mortal Kombat 11 and Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath. And I won't spoil the story here for you in case for some reason you don't know what happens in Mortal Kombat 11 and don't want to know. But essentially all you need to know is that this game is technically a sequel because it is following what happened there. However, it's a complete reboot at the same time because the entire timeline has been reset. So NetherRealm is basically getting the best of both worlds. They're technically getting a sequel out of this, but they're also getting a complete reboot because the entire timeline has been reset. So it's literally they can do whatever they want with the story now because they reset the entire timeline. So that was officially revealed. We also got a release date, and again 2023 just continues to be completely nuts because it's coming out soon, September 19th, 2023. This game's going to be on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PC, and Switch. So we can talk about that if you guys want, if you're excited for the game, how you think it's going to sell, all of that sort of goodness. A couple other topics that we're going to dive into today. Of course, we got the announcement of a PlayStation showcase. People have been dying waiting for this thing forever, right? People have been like, Sony, where's the showcase? Where's the showcase? We've had some really good state of plays, but there hasn't been like a full-on showcase in what, almost 2 years? I think it's been like a year and a half or something since we got the last actual showcase and not a state of play. It's finally here. Grubb was correct that it was going to happen at the end of May. It's going to be May 24th. We got a couple little snippets and tidbits out of Sony in the PlayStation blog about this, so we know kind of what. Oh wait, September 19th, 2023. Apologize. I just realized I had the stupid stream running. That was all doubled up. Sorry. It's happened twice now. Alright, it stopped. So the first like 3 minutes the audio scuffed. Sorry. Oh well. Just skip it if you're watching this stream later. That's happened twice now. I keep forgetting to freaking exit out of the YouTube stream because whenever I go to tweet it out, it's from the YouTube. And then boom. Sorry, it's annoying. I just realized it when I was looking at my OBS. Okay. Anyways, in regards to the PlayStation Showcase, the couple snippets that we got out of Sony about this thing, it's going to be over an hour long. It features games from top studios around the world, including third party, and it has several new creations from PlayStation Studios. Now, I find it interesting the way they phrase that in regards to PlayStation Studios, because they full on say several new creations. That to me is actually implying like brand new announcements. To me, that's not necessarily teasing Spider-Man 2 or, you know, games that we already know about. Obviously, we all expect those to be there. Obviously, if you're going to have a PlayStation showcase, you're going to have new announcements. But the fact they phrase it as several new creations, I don't know. I think we're about to get a lot here, guys. I think Sony's going to announce multiple new games that we've never heard of from PlayStation Studios. So that is exciting. Obviously, Spider-Man 2 is going to be here. We're going to get a release date for Spider-Man 2. But I think they're kind of teasing us that we're going to see multiple new PlayStation Studio games that we have never heard of before. So that is very, very cool. That's going to be super exciting. We can talk about that if you guys want, what you're expecting, what I'm expecting, and all of that goodness. The other major topics that we're going to talk about today in regards to sales numbers, obviously the biggest, beefiest, craziest one is Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. This game has sold over 10 million units in 3 days, utterly crushing what Zelda Breath of the Wild did, and most impressively of all, it essentially tied Pokemon Scarlet and Violet as the best-selling, not only Nintendo game ever, but the fastest-selling exclusive game ever for any platform. Now, the way Nintendo phrased this, they didn't specifically say it was bigger than Pokemon. However, the two numbers that we got out of both were both just over 10 million in 3 days. So I'm comfortable essentially calling it a tie. Maybe Pokemon is very slightly higher, but it's not a gap of any major note at all because they gave the exact same number for both. They just said over 10 million in 3 days. So I'm just calling it a tie. Again, if Pokemon opened 100,000 higher or something globally, then it's whatever. It is what it is. They're essentially the same opening. The percentage difference there is tiny. So essentially, Zelda has tied Pokemon Scarlet and Violet as the biggest Nintendo launch of all time and the biggest exclusive launch of all time. This is utterly nutty. A couple other stats that we got out of this: it sold over 4 million in the Americas alone, which is the biggest ever for any Switch game. So in the US, it wasn't even, or not US, because they specifically said Americas. I'm assuming they're referring to Canada and places like that as well as part of North America, and maybe South America is included in that as well, in Central America. But it wasn't a tie with Pokemon, right? Globally, it was essentially a tie. Not in the US. In the US, it was bigger. It's the biggest Switch launch ever for our Nintendo launch ever, bigger than Pokemon in the Americas. In Japan, it saw utterly massive growth. Now, it wasn't as big as Pokemon in Japan, but it was completely massive. This opened at 2.24 million in Japan. That's like so much bigger than any Zelda game ever. To put that in context, no Zelda game had ever opened at 1 million units before. This did over 2 million, and none had even hit 1 million yet in terms of launch sales. So it completely annihilates the franchise record in Japan, and also it pushed Switch to #1 in April. And that's going to take us really quick. I'm going to go over the US results for NPD/Circana. And let me pull those up for you really quick, and then I'm going to start diving into your comments and questions. So, first of all, let's start rocking here. So, in regards to hardware, #1 for hardware for the month is the Switch. The Zelda OLED pushes Switch to #1. Now, some comments from Matt Piscatella seem to imply that it may not have been a Switch #1 if it was not for that Zelda OLED that came out at the end of the month. He kind of said how that completely changed things in terms of hardware performance for the month. So clearly the Zelda OLED was completely massive, and that pushes the 6+-year-old Switch to #1. Absolutely incredible. #2 here is PlayStation 5, and a good month for PlayStation 5. It wasn't quite as explosive as what we saw out of PlayStation in like Q1, the kind of February and March numbers that we saw. It is great. It still did #2, but it wasn't crazy performance like we'd seen before. #3, Xbox Series hardware continues, unfortunately, to struggle. It looks like Xbox Series hardware actually declined year over year. So not only was it in third place for the month, it also declined. So not exactly a great result for Xbox hardware. Hopefully, Starfield can turn that around for Microsoft. That takes us next into software. And software, we had some pretty good results. So first of all, #1 for the month, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And as you can see, probably the most impressive thing out of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, this game was only tracked for 2 days, guys. and it's already the 4th best-selling game of the year with only 2 days of tracking. That's pretty incredible. If I'm going to be honest with you, we all expected Star Wars Jedi Survivor to do well. Jedi Fallen Order did super, super good, and this is tracking again to be amazing. You know, in the UK, we ended up finding out with digital that Jedi Survivor actually opened 30% bigger than Fallen Order did. So it looks like US performance is also spectacular considering 2 days of tracking for April, and it opens at number 1. Number 2 for the month is Dead Island 2. Really great result for Dead Island. Honestly, this game's doing very, very well, it appears. I'm sure they are super happy with that because, you know, there was a big question. Was Dead Island 2 going to be this huge bomb considering how long it was in development, how much it went through clear development struggles? Well, it's paying off and it's doing very, very well. So Dead Island 2 opens at number 2. Number 3 is MLB The Show 23. This game just continues to perform great. Resident Evil 4 comes in at number 4. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 at number 5. Hogwarts Legacy at number 6. PGA Tour at number 7. Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection at number 8. That's a nice surprise, guys, right? I did not expect at all to see Mega Man Battle Network in the top 10, let alone number 8. That's really, really awesome. Number 9, FIFA 23. Number 10, Mario Kart 8. Number 11, Minecraft Legends. Number 12, Elden Ring. Number 13, Minecraft. Number 14, Final Fantasy 1 through 6 bundles. Some people will be very happy to see that. Number 15, Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot. 16, New Super Mario Brothers. Number 17, Last of Us Part 1 legs continue thanks to the success of the HBO series. Number 18, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Number 19, Madden 23, and number 20, Super Mario 3D World. And that'll take us into the last part of the Circana/NPD numbers. And then I'm going to get to your guys' comments and questions. And these are the top selling games of the year so far. No change at number 1. Hogwarts Legacy keeps its number 1 position. Number 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Number 3, Resident Evil 4. So those top 3 don't change at all. As I noted, though, Star Wars Jedi Survivor now pops into the chart at number 4. And that's incredible because that's with 2 days of tracking. So expect to see that move up the list maybe as soon as next month. MLB The Show 23 is at number 5. Dead Island 2 opens at number 6. I told you guys when we were looking at software that this game appears to be doing very well. It's already past Dead Space, right? Dead Space came out in January, and Dead Space also, or actually I think that was early February, and that also appeared to do pretty well for EA. So the fact that, you know, Dead Island 2 comes out quite a bit later than Dead Space and is already over it, very, very good. Number 7's Dead Space. Number 8, FIFA 23. Number 9, Madden 23. Number 10, Elden Ring. Number 11, The Last of Us Part 1. Number 12, God of War Ragnarok. Mario Kart 8, number 13. Minecraft, number 14. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet at 15. Fire Emblem Engage at 16. Forspoken appears to have just colossally bombed because it's at number 17 for the year, and that's going to fall out of the top 20 very soon. So Forspoken, we kind of already knew, but yeah, this game's a huge bomb. Number 18, Sonic Frontiers. Number 19, Octopath Traveler 2. And number 20, NBA 2K23. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up the Circana/NPD numbers for the month of April. And let's get rocking now into your guys' comments and questions, okay? Let's get kicking. So for anyone, if this is your first time ever as part of my live chat, the way it works, it's a stream, it's a show, it's 100% driven by you, your comments, your questions. We just talk about the latest news in the video game industry. There's going to be a few ways to do that. First of all, of course, there's the free method. You just type a question, whatever you want. Free questions pop into chat, and I get to as many questions as I possibly can per stream. There's a couple ways to guarantee that I get to your question, and there's really two different options there. First of all, of course, there is the super chat option. You just type a donation of whatever you want. It alerts me, and I get to super chats immediately. The other way to guarantee that I get to a question for you today is going to become a channel member. Channel members are $4.99 a month, And basically the main perk for you is that I guarantee that every member, every stream gets at least one question answered. Now, I can't promise that I'm going to get to every single question that members ask because the chats get so big. But if you are a channel member, you're guaranteed to at least get one question, right? No matter what, I'll make sure you get at least one of them, if not more, but at least one question. And that is the main perk for channel memberships. You just click join to do that. All right, let's get rocking and rolling, guys. Thanks for the turnout. Already over 100 in chat. It's great to see you guys. Okay. So first of all, shout out to Joseki. Joseki has become a member for another month. Joseki gets the super cool badge. Thank you so much, Joseki, for becoming a channel member for this stream. And that's actually your second month. So thank you so much, Joseki. Very much appreciate that. All right. And then we got a couple super chats. All right. Laday's here with a 2 super chat. Thank you so much for that super chat. Which fighting game you think sells better? Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter? Well, this is a very simple answer. It's going to be Mortal Kombat, and it's not going to particularly be close. Mortal Kombat is a massively bigger franchise than Street Fighter. And that's really, I believe, because of Mortal Kombat's extremely strong single-player support. Street Fighter V was essentially just a multiplayer game, right? Yes, it had some single-player options, but it was essentially strictly multiplayer. Mortal Kombat has been able to ride the wave of both. It has huge online, huge multiplayer component, obviously, but it pulls in tons of casuals just to play the single-player mode, because ever since Mortal Kombat 9, NetherRealm has really been just providing very beefy single-player campaigns with stories, and even if you don't like going online, you get a ton of content out of Mortal Kombat as a single-player player. Now, I know that Street Fighter is now finally doing that as well. Street Fighter 6 has the most single player I've ever seen out of any Street Fighter game ever. They're loading this thing, and clearly, in my opinion, the reason they're doing that is a response to Mortal Kombat. They've been able to see the gigantic sales that Mortal Kombat has had, and I think that, you know, Capcom's also aware fighting games are a bit intimidating to play online, more so even than other genres like shooters, because this, like, the skill gap is so huge. Like, even if you're not very good at shooters, you can probably get some kills if you go online. Fighting games, they're just straight up 1v1, and you know, if someone's just straight up better than you, you will just always lose, right? It's pretty intimidating to people to go online. So if you really want to have a ton of sales, I think you have to have strong offline / single player components as well. And to illustrate how big that gap is, Mortal Kombat 11 sold over 15 million units as of its last number. It's significantly higher than that now because that was quite a while ago. Over 15 million for Mortal Kombat, whereas Street Fighter V, after years and years and years and years, is at 7 million. So it didn't even do half of the sales of Mortal Kombat, and that is with way more time. Now, I expect that Street Fighter VI is going to perform much, much better than Street Fighter V. Like I said, first of all, Street Fighter V had a disastrous launch. Whether you're a fan of just multiplayer or not, it was a very bad launch for Street Fighter V. So it really had to earn goodwill back over time to get people into it. Whereas Street Fighter VI looks so feature-rich right off the bat, plus all these single-player additions, I think Street Fighter VI is going to do way better than 5. However, is it going to do better than Mortal Kombat? No, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to sell better than Mortal Kombat. So expect Street Fighter VI to do very, very well. Do not expect it to outsell Mortal Kombat, though. Marcos V here with an 11 super chat. Thank you so much, Marcos. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Final Fantasy 16, or both will show up on PlayStation Showcase. I'm going to be real. I think if they show Final Fantasy 16, it's a mistake because I think that game has already been... I think they're going to really risk oversaturation if they show this game yet again. It's almost like the Deathloop phenomenon where people were like just sick of seeing Deathloop because it showed up nonstop. Final Fantasy 16 now has had many trailers. Final Fantasy 16 had a giant state of play for itself where it was like, how long was that thing? Wasn't it like almost 30 minutes? It's the cover of Game Informer. I'm like ready to just play this game. I don't really want to see any more Final Fantasy 16. If 16 is here, Marcos, it needs to just be like a launch trailer. And by that, I mean like a 1.5-minute launch trailer. Like if they really spend like 5 or 10 minutes on 16, they got to stop. They got to stop, dude. We know what 16 is. No one at this point has not been exposed to Final Fantasy 16. No one at this point doesn't know what 16 is. We've all seen it. Just get the game out. So I would say, Marcos, at most, just do a launch trailer. Like, that's it. Since the game's coming out, next month, if they want to have the launch trailer a month beforehand, which is a little weird. You usually don't do the launch trailer until like the last couple weeks. So it does feel like even early for that, but no big showing of 16. If they do, they need to get in and get out. It needs to be fast. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a huge question because it just depends on what Square Enix wants to do. I personally don't believe that showing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth would distract it all from 16. I think there's a ton of overlap there. A ton of people that are going to buy Final Fantasy 16 are also going to buy Rebirth. I think it's fine. Like, if I was at Square Enix marketing team, I personally would be like, yeah, we can advertise both these games. That's fine. But I don't know if Square Enix feels that way. Maybe they just want all the focus on 16. They don't even want to really talk about Rebirth until after 16 comes out. I don't know. I can't tell you what they think. But I personally am like, hey, just show Rebirth. If it's ready to be shown, show it. It's not a big deal. But we'll see. We'll see what Square Enix thinks. Ladays with a 2 super chat. EA with 4 of the 10 best-selling games of the year. Yeah, very impressive. I've talked about it before. EA is, in my opinion, arguably the best Western publisher right now out of the really, really big ones, or at least they're right there, which is pretty interesting because a few years back, it was very easy to be very negative about EA. That it was all about microtransactions. It was all about multiplayer. And don't get me wrong, EA still, loves their microtransactions and multiplayer, just like anybody else does that's, looking at the business side of things. But you also have to give EA a ton of respect for, all of the single player output they're doing. You have Dead Space, which is a single player only game that's in that top 10 best-selling games of the year so far. You got Jedi Survivor, which is in the top 5 best-selling games of the year already with only 2 days of tracking. They've got that Immortals of Avium game coming out, which is single player only. And clearly their sports games continue to do well. EA's, honestly, they've become a great publisher. I know that sounds crazy. A few years ago, you wouldn't have really seen me say this. I would have been like a little critical of EA. Like, they've always had some good games. I loved Titanfall, for example, and I loved Jedi Fallen Order. But, there was a lot of years where it's just like, man, EA just kind of sucks. But you really can't say that anymore. Maybe there's a certain game here and there you don't like. Maybe there's a certain decision EA makes that you don't really like. But when you compare EA to like Ubisoft, or you compare EA to Activision, even Take-Two, I mean, EA, they're great. They've become a very, very good Western publisher. So, yeah, you got to give them a shout out. And they're seeing a lot of success with that as well. 4 of the top 10 right now best-selling games of the year, EA. So, yeah, I agree. They're doing really, really well. Hopefully they keep this streak up, but I'm seeing a lot of improvements out of EA. Edgar Smith becomes a member for another month. Thank you so much, Edgar Smith. I really, really appreciate that for becoming a member for your second month. I believe it says member for 1 month, so this is like the anniversary and you re-upped. Thank you so much for being a channel member, Edgar. Hi, Ben. What a year for fighting games. Yeah, it's an incredible for fighting games. Fighting games are going to be living through like the golden age of fighters coming up. And here's the difficult question. How many Benjoy's Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is scored? Kudos, Ben. Okay, so a couple fun things here. Yeah, for fighting games, it's ridiculous. We just talked about Street Fighter 6, and we just talked about Mortal Kombat 1. But guys, you can't do that and leave out Tekken 8, right? Tekken 8's on the way as well, which also continues to look awesome. Now, they haven't given an exact release date for Tekken 8. Technically, that could be next year because they haven't confirmed any sort of date yet. But no matter what, it's within the next 12 months, right? There's no way that Tekken 8 is super far away. So no matter what, within the next 12 months, you're going to have 3 massive fighting games. And I know there's some other ones as well, but you look at Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken, all releasing games within 12 months of each other. If you're a fighting game fan, you're about to be living through the golden age of fighters, pretty much. You're going to have no shortage of things to play. And at least 2 of those games, like I said, if you're a single-player fan, great news. Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat 1 are both going to be single-player loaded. Now, Tekken 8, we don't really know. Tekken 7 had kind of single-player stuff, but it wasn't really known for its single-player. I'm hoping they're going to beef that up a bit with Tekken 8, but we don't really know how in-depth that is. But at least with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, you're going to get an absolute ton of single-player content there. So very, very cool. Now, how do I score? How many Ben Joys for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom? For me, this game is a legitimate 10 out of 10. Tears of the Kingdom is absolutely incredible. I've been tweeting about it for days, how much it's just blowing me away. And it's interesting because I'm not one of those people that felt this way about Breath of the Wild. I really, really liked Breath of the Wild. I thought it was a great game. It wasn't even my game of the year, though, whenever it came out. And whenever I say that, it's not that I didn't like Breath of the Wild, right? Because you see some people that hate Breath of the Wild. I was never one of those people. I really, really liked Breath of the Wild. I think I put 80 or 90 hours or something into it. I played a ton of the game. It just didn't for some people when they played Breath of the Wild, it was this is one of the greatest games I've ever played. For me, it didn't connect on that level. I was like, this is a great game, but it's not my game of the year, and it's also not one of the best games I've ever played, for me. But Tears of the Kingdom is incredible. It gripped me in a way that Breath of the Wild never did. I legitimately think this is one of the best games I've ever played. It's incredible. They took that foundation that Breath of the Wild had. It still has the bones of Breath of the Wild, but the gameplay is so vastly improved. The new abilities expand so much. Before that game came out, I was so are these abilities going to feel gimmicky? Is the building stuff going to feel gimmicky? Am I really going to be using any of these powers? Or are they in the game, but I'm mostly going to just ignore them? No, they expand the gameplay. They complement the gameplay. It's fantastic. Tears of the Kingdom, legitimate 10 out of 10. If I was a reviewer, I don't do scored reviews, but if I did, I would legitimately give Tears of the Kingdom, yes, a 10 out of 10. I am that impressed by it. It's incredible. And thank you for being a member, Edgar. And Ladays has also become a member this stream. Thank you so much, Ladays, for becoming a channel member. I really appreciate that. Okay. And then we got a couple member questions, and then I'm diving into the free ones. Highlander here as a member, just saying hello, what's up, Highlander? Sorry about the echo earlier, guys. I apologize about that. The first couple minutes of audio is going to be scuffed. Just skip past it. I got to stop doing that. It's so annoying. I tweet the stream out, and you do it from the actual YouTube video thing, and then I just keep forgetting to close the tab. Joe Secchi here with a member question. Hi, Benji. Enjoying Tears of the Kingdom? Yes, as I said, 10 out of 10. This year, Nintendo is on fire. Metroid Prime Remastered at 94 Metacritic. Xenoblade 3 DLC at 92 Metacritic. Zelda at 96 Metacritic. Insane Zelda sales. Mario movie box office. Switch hardware still big. My biggest surprise is Tears of the Kingdom sales in Japan. I agree. That was an incredible number. 2.24 million is already more than 60% of Breath of the Wild's total. That's insane. Worldwide, we are 30%. The regional growth is absurd. Joseki, you are spot on. All of these numbers that are coming in for Breath of the Wild are super impressive, whether it's the hardware performance. I mean, as you guys saw, in my slide earlier, the Zelda OLED essentially pushed Switch to number one. It probably wouldn't have been number one without that OLED. We don't know that for a fact, but the way Matt Piscatella talked on Twitter, it sure sounded that way. So Zelda pushing hardware sales still for a platform that's over 6 years old. Keep in mind, Switch right now is in its 7th year. It's not 7 full years old yet. This is its current 7th year. It's 6 years old, but it'll be 7 years old in March. To still be hitting number one above PlayStation and Xbox Series after you have such a huge install base already in the US. Incredible. Just absolutely incredible. The review scores are through the roof for Nintendo titles. Mario movie's huge. You're just correct in every area. Nintendo is on absolute fire. The only slight criticism you could have is how far away is Switch 2. You know, even with these really tremendous results, I expect Switch to be number 1 in May as well. I expect April and May to be Switch number 1s, but I don't think it keeps number 1 past May. I do expect after that, you know, PlayStation 5 to kind of take back over. But the hardware's still doing great, especially for as old as it is. So, you know, Switch 2 not potentially being in the next like 6 to 8 months isn't that big of a deal, really. It's just that's the one thing you could be a little critical of if you were looking for something to be. I keep saying they just need Switch 2 next year. You know, I keep saying it doesn't necessarily have to be March. You know, they could wait till the holiday if they want, but it does need to be next year. You know, they can't wait until 2025 for Switch 2. It's got to be next year. But other than that, they're killing it. And the Japan growth is absurd for Zelda. Absolutely absurd. Any other members that haven't gotten a question yet? I don't think so. I think all members have gotten a question answered. And super chats are cleared. So let's start getting to your guys' free questions. Duquesta here. Yo, Benji. Well, the wait is finally over, and we're finally getting a PlayStation Showcase next week. What are your predictions for viewership numbers? Do you think it will break online records for a PlayStation Showcase? All right, let's run the first poll. First poll of the chat. We'll make it a PlayStation Showcase related one. And we'll say, what's your hype level for the PlayStation Showcase? All right. Your first option, 10 out of 10. Expecting a great show. So you're 10 out of 10 hyped. We'll say excited, but not too crazy. We'll say indifferent, so you don't really care. You're not really excited or not excited. You're just indifferent. You don't really care. And then the last option is not excited. Okay. For me, it's 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10 excitement level. Okay, so back to your question. Do I think it could break viewership numbers? I actually do. I think this might be the most watched PlayStation Showcase ever. I think the only one that maybe it might not pass is like that first huge one they did for the PlayStation 5 reveal. Because, you know, there was so much excitement for the next PlayStation platform. However, the social media metrics for this announcement were crazy. I mean, crazy. This thing had over 50,000 likes on Twitter. I think it had over 9 million views at one point. And it's going to be way higher now. I just remember at one point looking at the tweet because it was like almost a short little video clip. That alone was like over 9 million. It's been so long since there has been a full-on showcase. And I think many of us are expecting that this thing is going to have big reveals. I don't expect this to be small at all. Sony's gone so long without having a dedicated showcase. These states of plays they've been doing have not featured first party much. It's been primarily third party partnerships. Guys, I think they're going all out. I think you're going to see a lot at this PlayStation Showcase. So, viewership, could it be the most watched PlayStation Showcase ever? It very well could. What that concurrent viewership is going to be, I'm not 100% sure. Hundreds of thousands. But I don't know. I don't know about an exact number, but do I think it has a shot of being the biggest PlayStation Showcase ever? Yes, I do. I do think that has potential for that. I think we had We did. Split End 89 gifted a membership. Split End, thank you so much, man. That's very, very kind of you. Very kind of you to help support the community like that. Split End 89 is a great friend of mine. Split End 89 helps mod the channel. He's just a great dude, and you can see how great of a dude he is because he's sitting here gifting memberships. So congrats to Khalil Jama. You are now a channel member, Khalil. So if you have a question, Split End gifted you that membership. If you have a comment or a question, whatever, drop that into chat, Khalil, and I will get it for you. And you're a member for a full month because of that. So the streams that we do for the next few weeks, Khalil, you're guaranteed a question. Thank you so much, Split End. That's very kind of you to do, man. That's very nice of you. Highlander001 with a 10 super chat. Thank you so much, Highlander. Very, very generous. Hope you're having a good week. Maybe post a post-it note on your monitor to remind you, yeah, about the double audio. Sorry. If Microsoft, will it be open season on publishers and developers, and could Sony be priced out of market? So, first of all, I am having a good week, much improved. Things are trending in the right direction for my mental health. So, you know, you guys know I had a really bad week. Was that last week now? I think it was. Like, it's been like a week or so, whatever. I had a really bad week for my mental health. That is rapidly improving. I wouldn't say I'm as far as 100% back to my best yet. But really making solid progress. So that's good. I'm sure you guys can see I've been more active on Twitter again and everything like that. So things are very much moving in a positive direction. Thank God. Now, in regards to Microsoft and open season and priced out for Sony, I'm assuming you mean if they get Activision. If they get Activision, I really don't think it's necessarily open season because they're going to squeak this thing through. Like, if they get it, it will have been a massive battle. It will have taken them years by the time this thing's completed, right? I don't think any of us are expecting this to complete anytime soon, even with Europe approving. You know, there's still a chance that they get Activision Blizzard. I'm not saying it's impossible, but they're still going to have to go through stuff with CMA and FTC. You know, neither one of those are wrapped up. So, you know, at best, this is going to take them like 2 years to get through. Tons of money. You know, all these legal battles are going to cost Microsoft a lot of money. You know, they got to pay extremely powerful and expensive lawyers and a whole team and tons of stuff. All the flying and everything Phil and Satya are having to do, all the meetings they're having to do. That doesn't mean that I not saying that if Activision Blizzard's acquired, that means Microsoft's not going to buy anyone else, because I suspect they very well might. I just don't think it's like, oh, they eventually got Activision Blizzard through, now Microsoft can just go buy Ubisoft and whoever they want, and EA, and, you know, I don't think so at all. I think Microsoft will sit on this for quite some time if they get it through. Doesn't mean I'm not necessarily saying they might not get some small studios, you know, that are fairly inexpensive and won't be taking a ton onto their plate. I could see them doing that. But if they actually get Activision Blizzard, I don't think you're going to see them rush out and get other, like, you know, huge studios or other publishers. I think they're going to sit for a while before they do a mega purchase again. You know, they might do some smaller ones, but not a mega one. So, and I don't see Sony being priced out of the market at all. No, I don't think so. So I think I've been saying for a while, I expect them to get someone bigger than Bungie before this is all said and done. And I still expect that. You know, who that's going to be, I have no idea. But no, I don't think Sony's out of the race yet for getting a big acquisition. A couple super chats coming in here. We've got Infinity Doc with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Infinity Doc. Very kind of you. Weird that they chose Gears 5 as the first title for GeForce Now. Do you think this is a sign we will see a tease for Gears 6? Oh, that's a great question. You know, the Coalition hasn't had a game for quite some time. What was the Gears 5 release date? That was that 2018 or 2019? 2019. So it's been almost 4 years. However, we know that the Coalition's a very busy studio. They help a lot of other Xbox teams internally. A lot. Like, Coalition is a very regularly used dev within Microsoft. In fact, you even had Phil confirm that they're helping Arcane with like the 60 FPS for Redfall that they're working on. And he was talking about how they wish they would have gotten the Coalition in earlier to help with Redfall. So they're kind of seen as like the awesome tech team within Microsoft. So they're very, very busy. They help all sorts of other Xbox studios out. Rumors are that they were making a new IP that got canceled. That is rumored, not necessarily confirmed, because they actually never officially announced that they were making a new IP. However, it was reported from people like Jeff Grubb that they were. That has also been reported that has been canned. So I don't know when they started development on Gear 6. Maybe they started development on Gear 6 a little while ago. We don't really know when that development would have started. Clearly, they're working on Gear 6 right now. But I don't know. I'd love to see a tease of Gear 6. I'm one of those people that thinks Gears 5 is massively underrated. I loved Gears 5. I thought that game was incredible. I thought it was way better than Gears 4. So yeah, I cannot wait for Gear 6. I'm incredibly excited for it. To me, it feels a little early. It doesn't in terms of timeline, because Gears 5 was 4 years ago. But considering the other things we know about Coalition, considering all the help they're doing with other studios, considering the rumors of a new IP that was canceled, I have a feeling Gear 6 isn't that far into development yet, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's closer than we think. So we'll have to see. Infinity Doc, I'll just say I'm not expecting to see Gear 6 in June, but maybe they surprise us. Maybe there is one. And I will be pleasantly surprised, because I loved Gears 5. I think it's a great game. Kirby Louise with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Kirby Louise. I am afraid my beloved Kirby games will start going for $70 since so many bought Tears of the Kingdom, and Nintendo will see they can get away with that price. Hated. Okay, let me just comment on this, because it drove me crazy. And I even sent a tweet about this a little while back. There is no evidence anywhere that $70 has hurt game sales. It is not true. There was a couple articles that went out. One of them was from Tweaktown, and another one was from someone else. I can't remember. I think it was Bloomberg. And they were talking about how, like, oh, look, we're starting to get the evidence that people don't buy $70 games. It ain't true. It's not true. Call of Duty is $70. It's still breaking records. Zelda is obliterating records at $70. The sports games have been $70. Have you seen a decline in sports game sales? No. There is no piece of evidence that $70 hurts game sales. Now, wait a second, because I have some more thoughts on this, okay? So calm down, guys. People that are super anti-$70, just wait. I also, though, do believe that $70 is a mistake for every game, okay? Regardless of publisher. I think that, smaller projects, people should really be experimental with pricing. I think the idea that every game we launch needs to be $70, I think that there are certain titles, okay? So whenever I said we have no evidence that $70 hurts game sales, I'm of course referring to major franchises. Look at Jedi Survivor, guys. Game was $70. Have you seen how Jedi Survivor's selling? Look at Hogwarts Legacy. Game was $70 on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure Hogwarts Legacy is $70. Let's look. Unless I'm mistaken it, but I'm pretty sure that game launched at $69.99. $69.99, yep. Again, if it's a smaller game, if it's not a huge IP, maybe you don't do 70. Maybe you still launch that thing at $60. I'm of the opinion we should see more $40 games in this industry that aren't having huge AAA budgets. But guys, some of this reporting that's gone around that like, oh, we're seeing it, $70 hurting games, it's not true. It's just not true. There's no evidence. For big brands, big franchises, Hogwarts Legacy's breaking records. Jedi Survivor's opening bigger than Fallen Order. Zelda is completely obliterating all sales metrics you can even describe. Sports games are seeing no declines in sales on current-gen consoles. Call of Duty is setting records for launches. I mean, it's just... the data does not point that $70 hurts games. It doesn't. There might be specific cases where $70 could hurt a game. But if it's a big franchise, if it's a big AAA well-known franchise, there's actually zero. Not like, oh, there's 5% evidence. There's 0% evidence that $70 hurts a game's sales. So you're going to see definitely more and more $70 games. Mortal Kombat was just announced today as being $70. That is the new standard, guys. Now, Kirby is an interesting one, Kirby Louise, because Kirby's one of those I don't know if I would feel comfortable launching at $70. You know, Zelda clearly can be. No issues. And the next 3D Mario, if I'm Nintendo, absolutely that's $70. No question about it. You're going to sell it, no problem at 70. The next Smash Bros, absolutely $70. The next Mario Kart, absolutely $70. But Kirby, even though Kirby has done very well, Kirby in the Forgotten Land did extremely well. That's still like a full tier below these games that we're talking about. So Kirby, you never know. I would say that $70, yeah, there's a legit chance that the sequel to Kirby and the Forgotten Land, because I'm assuming they're going to make a sequel to that game, considering it's the best-selling Kirby game ever, right? It's like the fastest-selling Kirby game that's ever been released. So I'd be shocked if they don't do a sequel to that. That, to me, could go either way. I could still see them launching that at 60. I will tell you, though, yes, expect Mario Kart to be 70, expect 3D Mario to be 70, expect the next Smash Bros. For Switch 2 to be 70. Those huge mega games for Switch, they're all going to be 70. After this, no question about it. Nintendo has zero reason to not do it. It's just throwing money away to not. Guys, think about this. They sold 10 million units in 3 days. Do $10 by 10 million, because instead of 60, it's 70. I know that's not going to be an exact comparison because of regional pricing, but even if you want to just look at the Americas, right? They sold over 4 million units in 3 days in just the Americas. If you only want to look at that and not think about regional pricing other areas, just do 4 million units by $10 and think about how much additional revenue that is that would have just been thrown away if they didn't price it at 70. Nintendo's going to look at that math and they're going to be like, yeah, our flagship games are from now on $70. The big ones. Again, stuff like Kirby could go either way. We'll have to see. All right, we have a member question here from Ice Pick. Thank you so much for being a channel member, Ice Pick 1878. Is Forspoken at 17 year-to-date better than feared? No, it's very, very bad. And beat multiple at games like Octopath, Wild Hearts, and Wo Long. Yeah, but I don't consider any of those games to be successes. I don't consider Wo Long successful. I don't consider Wild Hearts successful. And Octopath is pretty niche, okay? You know, it's kind of having decent legs. Its launch was actually pretty bad, in my opinion. It's having decent legs. But no, Forspoken at number 17 is very bad. And it's going to be out of the top 20 very soon. Possibly as soon as May, because Zelda's going to push it down and it keeps falling. Like, Forspoken isn't like holding its position. Forspoken continues to collapse down the charts. So no, Forspoken is a legitimate bomb. There's a reason that Luminous Productions doesn't exist anymore. You know, like, they literally killed the studio. If Forspoken was a massive hit, you'd see Forspoken 2, and Luminous Productions would still be a thing. They literally closed the studio, and they're moving all those people internally to other teams. Square Enix confirmed that. They said essentially what we're doing with Luminous is we're using them, all those employees, to beef up other projects like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. So no, Forspoken is a colossal bomb. Pains me to say it. I always want to root for games to succeed, but there's just no way around it. Forspoken's a huge bomb. Forspoken also had a way bigger budget than something like Octopath as well, for example. Wild Hearts and Wo Long, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they spent on those, but Forspoken's budget was huge. Luminous Productions was a huge studio. It wasn't like 50 people. And it was in development for years. That was a very expensive game. Highlander001 with a 5 super chat. Oh, you mean open season for Tencent, Embracer Group, Sony, not just Microsoft. Oh, I see what you're saying, Highlander. Are you saying it's open season for other people to make mega acquisitions? Yes. Yep, you are correct on that. I would say yes. If Microsoft's able to complete Activision Blizzard, Is that great news if you're Tencent, Embracer, Sony wanting to make big purchases? Yes. Yup. Like I said, I don't think that means that Microsoft necessarily it's open season because they're spending so much money. You know, they're going to sit on this for a while. But if they're able to get it through, yeah. If I'm Tencent, if I'm Embracer, if I'm Sony and I want to make a mega purchase, I think I can do it. Because Microsoft's going to get even more scrutiny than some of these other companies because it's Microsoft, right? They're already such a powerhouse, not necessarily within gaming, but as a company. Yeah, absolutely. If Microsoft can get someone like Activision Blizzard, yeah, I think other people will take it as a sign that they can get someone big. Yeah, for sure. Galaxy Lore with a 199 super chat saying, proud of you for being honest about mental health. Well, Galaxy Lore, I very much appreciate that. I try to be transparent and honest about it because it's something that's been a battle for me off and on my whole life. And I know that there's a lot of people that go through this stuff too, right? It's not just me. And I know that, you know, talking about this stuff can help people. You know, it's a benefit for me because I can help get this stuff off my chest. You know, so many of you guys are so supportive that it's a positive for me in my life, you know, because I get so much support. I get people reaching out. I get people, you know, giving me encouragement. So, hey, first of all, sweet. There's a net benefit for me. And I'm not ashamed of going through mental health struggles. I don't consider it a weakness at all. So, first of all, it helps me. And then second of all, I have people tell me all the time whenever I say this sort of stuff, they'll DM me or they'll comment on my tweets and they'll say, thanks, dude, I really needed that. I'm going through something myself and seeing this is like helping me, you know, get out of my own head. So it's helping other people as well. You know, mental health, it's a really important thing. And I know some people don't have that much struggles with it, right? Some people get through their day. Of course, we all have stresses. We all have anxieties. We all have, you know, things that make us sad. But some people, it doesn't affect them the same way it does others. But there are millions and millions and millions of people that are struggling, you know, every day. And if I can help make those people feel even slightly better about being honest and open about it, that's a huge win because I know exactly what it's like to go through it myself. I go through both anxiety and depression. I got the double-edged sword. It's not always both at once. Sometimes it's bouts of anxiety. Sometimes it's bouts of depression. But I got them both. So, yeah, I mean, I know what it's like to go through it. So if I can help people feel even a little bit better by talking about it, that's great. That's great. And Khalil is saying, meant to say thank you to the person who gifted me a membership. Yeah, that was Split End. Shout out to Split End. Benji, do you think we will get a new IP from Ben's studio? Yes, they are currently making a new IP. Now, whether we'll see that at the PlayStation Showcase or not, I'm not sure. I think there's a very real chance that we see it here. It's been in development now for a couple years, but it may still be too early. But yes, Bend is currently making a new IP, Khalil. Yes, that is what they are working on. They are also assisting with the Last of Us multiplayer game. Bend is providing assistance to Naughty Dog on the multiplayer The Last of Us. However, they are currently making their own new IP. So there is a chance it could be here. It might still be too early, but there is a chance. Khalil, you could possibly see Ben's new IP at the showcase. Yes, that is in the running. All right, Super Chats are cleared, and every member's had at least one question answered. So let's get back to the free questions. Thanks for a great turnout today, guys. And as for the poll that I ran, well, it's pretty overwhelming, and I'm not surprised. I asked what's your hype level for the PlayStation Showcase. 58% of you, so over half, are with me. You're full on 10 out of 10, expecting a great show. I'm with you. I am 10 out of 10 hype for the PlayStation Showcase. Another 31% are saying they're excited, but not too crazy. But when you combine those two, it's overwhelming, right? Between the 10 out of 10 and the excited, the vast bulk of people are incredibly hyped or are excited for this PlayStation Showcase. 9% feeling different. I'm going to guess it's probably people that don't own a PlayStation. You know, they don't really care because they probably don't plan on buying a PlayStation. And then 2%, only 2% are not excited. All right. So we'll end that poll. And let's get another poll cooking. And my next poll is, where do you expect lifetime Tears of the Kingdom sales to hit? So how much do you think Tears of the Kingdom is going to sell lifetime? I'm going to give the lowest option is 30 million. It's not going to sell less than 30 million. This thing sold 10 million in 3 days. And Breath of the Wild sold 30. I'm telling you right now, it ain't going to sell less than 30 million. I'm not necessarily saying this year, but I'm saying lifetime. Trust me, it'll get to at least 30 million. Next option, we'll say 40 million. That'd be a 10 million improvement over Breath of the Wild. Now, Breath of the Wild's not done selling, so maybe even Breath of the Wild eventually gets to 30 or 40. You never know. But it would be a 10 million improvement over where Breath of the Wild is right now. And the last option, I'll just say 50 plus million, because that's a crazy high bar, right? 50 plus million could mean you think it's going to hit 60. You think it's going to hit 70. That ain't going to happen, I don't think. But those are your options. Where do you expect lifetime Tears of the Kingdom sales to hit? 30 million, that's going to be right around Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild's not done yet, but you're essentially thinking that despite the way faster start, it's going to kind of slow down and do around Breath of the Wild numbers. 40 million, you think this thing's going to do faster and keep selling faster than Breath of the Wild, or 50 plus million, you think this thing is just going to be a behemoth and not stop at all and eventually get, to Mario Kart level sales. Let's see. All right. SD, Benji. Details of the PS Showcase metrics announcement in social media in comparison versus the Summer Game Fest announcement and Xbox Showcase announcement. Thanks. I don't know what Summer Game Fest's metrics were off the top of my head. I got no idea, to be honest with you. All I can say, SD, is that the PlayStation Showcase metrics on Twitter were extremely strong. Let's look and see where it's at right now. The tweet from the official PlayStation account. Let's see, guys. Jesus. Yeah, this thing at right now, it's only been a day. It's at 63.7 thousand likes on Twitter and 13.9 million views. Woo! Huge numbers. Huge numbers. Zinfamous, hey Benji, any thoughts on how little conversation there is about PSVR 2 by the fans, media, and honestly Sony themselves? Yeah, it looks like a bomb. Also, that UFC 291 card in Salt Lake City is stacked. Am I right? So first of all, in regards of PSVR 2, I hate to say it, things are looking rough. Sony really, if they want PSVR 2 to be successful, they got to find a way to revitalize this thing. I know it hit retail stores finally recently. I have seen no evidence that that has had any significant boost to sales. I continue to just think PSVR 2 is too expensive. I think it's just too expensive of a product for an add-on. I just do. And I get that for the tech, right? For the tech that you're getting, it's not a bad deal. Like the PSVR 2 itself is a fantastic piece of equipment. So whenever I say I think it's too expensive, that's not me saying, hey, Sony's being unfair with this price. It's simply, guys, it costs as much as the console. That's a hard ask for a casual gamer. You know what I mean? Like, that's a hard ask, because here's the reality. Your casual gamer, not us super hardcores, the casuals who are the bulk of the market. That's just the reality. I know for a lot of us, myself included, it's very easy to forget that those of us that are spending an hour and a half on a weekday, talking about video games, that we're not representing the average gamer. Like, we're not. For your average gamer that walks into a Walmart or a Target or a GameStop and they look at the shelf and they see a PS5 and they see a VR add-on that is as expensive or more if you're looking at the digital console, then the console, dude, it's a hard friggin' sell. It's a hard sell. Now, that doesn't mean that I think there's just like zero way to get PSVR 2 to have some sort of longer success. It's going to be hard, though. They would need some tremendous software support. The software support's nowhere near where it needs to be. Like, and I know it's the whole chicken and the egg thing, right? It's, hey, we don't want to spend a AAA budget making a PSVR game because there's not enough people with PSVRs. However, without those games, you can't sell the PSVRs. So it's like a vicious cycle. Here's the reality. If, and this is a huge if Sony want to make PSVR 2 very like successful, they got to just take a loss on the software. And that's the question, is if they think that's worth it. They got to greenlight games that they just know they're not going to make their money back. And that's a hard ask, right? It's a hard ask for a business to do. But the reality is, if you make a AAA PSVR 2 game right now, you will not make your money back. It's just not going to happen. Now, there are games that can still be profitable on PSVR 2, but there's a reason why you see so many VR games, even on Quest, by the way, that are very small experiences. You don't see many Half-Life Alyxes. You don't see many Horizon PSVR games. Like, there's a reason there's so few of those, because you can't make money on it. Like, not really. If Half-Life Alyx ended up making any money, it wasn't a lot of money. And that's like probably one of the most successful VR games ever. You know, not counting something like Beat Saber. So Sony is just going to have to be like, we're going to make games for it and we're not going to get our money back. And we're going to just have to see if that can push PSVR units. And that's the question they have to ask themselves. They would have to do that. And the price has to come down at some point. I don't think it'll ever be highly successful at that price point. I just don't think it can ever get there, even with the big games. I think at $399 they could find a lot of success. But at $499 or $550, right? Isn't it? Actually, no, it's $549. Jesus Christ. Apologize for the language, but that price is just wow. It needs to be $399. If they really want to sell units, it's got to be $399 at some point. At some point, the price has to come down to $399, and it needs more software. Without those two things, some people will buy it, but it will not be many people. Not many at all. Now, in regards to UFC 291, incredibly stacked. I won't spend long on this for non-MMA fans. There's a ton of people here that don't care about MMA, but I love MMA. I love combat sports, boxing, all of it. Yeah, that card's ridiculous. Main event, Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier 2. That is just pure violence. There's 0% chance this fight's boring, and they're fighting for the BMF belt now that Jorge Masvidal has retired. I actually love this. I responded to Ariel Helwani's tweet about this, and I was like, listen, the BMF belt's cheesy. I mean, it's a belt that literally represents, it has BMF written on it, and it represents baddest mother effer, okay? It's cheesy, but it's fun. And sometimes you just gotta have fun. And these are the two perfect guys to fight for it. Dustin Poirier, all-action fighter. Justin Gaethje, all-action fighter for the BMF. It's perfect. It's great. That's a great fight. Can't wait for it. You've got Alex Pereira Poatan, the former middleweight champion that just lost to Israel Adesanya, moving up to fight former champion at 205, Jan Blachowicz, or Blachowicz, however you want to say it. Banger. That fight's going to be an absolute banger. You got Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green. You got the return of Paulo Costa. It's a ridiculous card, it's infamous. Amazing pay-per-view. I will be buying that one. Great card. All right. I think we had some super chats, and I think Highlander did something very generous. I think Highlander gifted 5 memberships. Highlander, dude. Everyone, give a big thank you to Highlander. How freaking kind of Highlander, guys. Hey, applaud to Highlander. Highlander gifted 5 memberships to the community. Dude got a membership. Casual Noob Gamer got a membership. Marvin got a membership. Ken B got a membership. And Luis SR all got memberships from Highlander. Very, very kind of you, Highlander. That is so cool, dude. All of you guys can get a question answered. Drop those questions into chat. That is very kind of you, Highlander. 5 gifted memberships. Wow, dude. You're the man. That is very kind of you, dude. All right. And then a couple super chats got in here. Highlander with a 5 super chat. Speaking of Forspoken, do you see Sony paying for exclusivity for an unknown IP? How much did Forspoken hurt Sony? Yeah, I mean, for buying Forspoken couldn't have been cheap. I imagine that they spent a lot of money on that. You know, it was Square Enix's next big game. It's from the team that made Final Fantasy 15, which sold a ton of units. Obviously, I think it would be unrealistic to have ever expected Forspoken to sell as much as Final Fantasy, but they expected this to sell millions. This is the risk of unknown IP. You know, that's always the risk, even when they're coming from prestigious studios. Sometimes things just don't work out. Look at Redfall. You know what I mean? You look at Arcane, and Arcane's had so many awesome games. Prey is an awesome game. Dishonored's an awesome game. And I know that, you know, the Leon and the Austin studios are separate, but, you know, look at all of the sweet games that Arcane's made, and then you get a Redfall. You know, this is just the risk. Anytime there's a new IP, they're inherently risky. Not that there's not a risk even making a sequel that it could suck, but at least you kind of know what you're doing. And if you nailed the first game, you'll probably at least make a good game for the sequel. You know, maybe it's not quite as good, but odds are you're going to at least have a good game. So, yeah, it's the risk. That's always the risk with new IP, you know. Do I see Sony, you know, just rushing out to lock down a ton of new IPs? I would say no. I think they'll be pretty selective about it. But yeah, that's the risk. That's the risk anytime you're putting your funding on a new IP. Sometimes it ain't going to work out, unfortunately. Barden Bamer here with a super chat. Thank you so much. Benji, you are the man. I love your work. God bless you. Well, thank you so much. That is very, very kind of you, Barden. The support I get's unbelievable. Every once in a while I get someone being mean, but like I always am very lucky in that my percentage of mean people to supporters is crazy high. I don't think that's necessarily because of me. I just think I try to foster a non-mean community, whether it's on Twitter and YouTube. I always say, I really think that in a lot of ways, your audience is a reflection of you, right? That's what I say to content creators. You know, I think that all the time. You know, if you're someone that's constantly being combative with your community, because I won't name any names, but I see people like that. I see people that are constantly just fighting all day on Twitter, and they're like, you know, why are people being mean to me? And they're constantly fighting. And it's like, because maybe that's the audience you're fostering. You're being combative. If you're being combative, people are going to be combative back with you. That's just like what you're inviting. Or if, you know, you see a content creator and they have a ton of just negative, toxic people that are constantly commenting and following them, probably because that's what you're putting out there. Now, all of us, you know, anyone that has any sort of following, you're going to get some bad eggs, right? That's anyone. I've got some in my community too. But my percentage, really high, and I really appreciate that. So, and that's just because I don't get combative with people. I don't fight with people. I'm not sitting there saying rude things about people. I'm not trying to drag people down. That doesn't mean I'm a good person. It just means that's not really the community that I want. And so thank you. I appreciate that, Barden. Most of the support is extremely positive. It's just every once in a while I get rude people. George Corona the third with a 10. Thank you so much, George Corona. Do you believe the rumors about Konami and PlayStation exclusivity for Metal Gear and Castlevania? In addition to Silent Hill, this seems like a gargantuan pickup. Take my money. Well, George Corona, thank you for the super chat. $10. That's very generous. I will just say the same thing I said. It was either last stream or the stream before that. I knew exactly what was happening with Silent Hill for years before that was announced. The whole roadmap. I'm not going to tell you how I knew it, but I knew it. I knew about Silent Hill 2 remake. I knew about that there was a new Silent Hill coming that was just flat out not a remake, that it was like a new Silent Hill, which of course was announced. I knew that there was a smaller Silent Hill project as well that was in development, which of course has also been announced. I knew all this years ago. I knew in the earliest stages of that Silent Hill deal, which is crazy. That was one of the craziest things that ever happened to me, the information that I got on Silent Hill. I get leaks all the time. Sometimes they're real, sometimes they're fake. That Silent Hill one I got was wild. I knew in the earliest stages of that deal exactly what was going down. And what I said, again, is that I do not have this information on Metal Gear and Castlevania. Now, there is a rumor floating around that both Metal Gear and Castlevania are also coming back, and those are also exclusive. Now, all I can say, again, do I know if Metal Gear and Castlevania are exclusive? No, I have no idea. What I can say is, knowing what I know about the Silent Hill deal and how Silent Hill came together, knowing what I know about that, this rumor about Metal Gear and Castlevania also being exclusives, it does make sense. Okay? So take for that what you will. I'm not telling you they're exclusive. I have zero idea if they're exclusive. Quite literally, I have no idea. However, I do know a lot about the Silent Hill deal. And considering what I know about the Silent Hill deal, these rumors would also make a lot of sense. We'll see. I don't know if that's true. But I wasn't surprised whenever I saw that rumor after knowing what I know about what happened with the Silent Hill brand. So we'll see. Highlander001 with a 5 super chat. I am a combat vet. I suffer PTSD to the point I can't watch my son play Call of Duty or Battlefield. Never mind fireworks. So much respect to you. Well, Highlander, dude, respect to you. I just recently saw a guy. I will not say any names. I will keep this all private. But I just recently saw a high school friend. I work retail. You guys know that. I see people all the time. I just recently saw a high school friend who had recently returned from 2 tours in Afghanistan. And he was telling me he is going through some severe PTSD as well and is on all kinds of medication. Of course, won't say any names. All of this is being kept private. So, Highlander, I hope the best for you, man. I hope that you can get through that PTSD. I know it's a real struggle. I could tell that this high school friend of mine was hurting and that he's going through some tough times. And Highlander, respect to you as well for being open about it, because, yeah, I've seen that it can really mess people up. All right. Benji here with a 5 super chat. Hi, Benji. Following Tears of the Kingdom's huge launch and hardware sales impact, could you comment on other historical killer apps and some potential upcoming ones? Ooh. Yeah, this goes back to the whole thing with my video to Phil Spencer, right? Love Phil. But I had so many people commenting on my Zelda tweets, and they were like, see, Phil? Now, to make one thing clear, Zelda is a rare example, right? So I think you guys can't be too hard on Phil in regards to Zelda specifically, because Zelda is an outlier, right? There's not many brands that any company owns that can have the impact of Zelda. So it's not really realistic to expect Xbox to have many Zeldas right now, right? Maybe they can get there, but that's the sort of thing that's going to take time and work. So I do, again, 100% stand by what I said in that video. How did Switch sell 100 and ridiculous many million units? It's games like Zelda. So I still stand by my core point. But again, Microsoft as of now does not have many brands that they've been able to build up to that level. And hopefully they can get there, but that sort of thing takes work. That sort of thing takes time. You don't just overnight have a Zelda. You know, Nintendo didn't get Zelda to where it is overnight. It took a lot of work, and it took many years to get there. So some other historical killer apps, you can't ignore Halo 3. Speaking of Xbox, Halo 3 was a seminal moment for the Xbox 360. You could go all the way back to the original Halo. Like the OG Xbox, it don't really exist in a way of like being able to continue as a brand at all without Halo. You know, Halo was that game for Xbox. Whether it was the original Halo and what it did for the OG system, getting them into the market, whether it was Halo 3, which was a huge moment for Xbox 360 early in its life cycle. And that's what makes it really sad about what's happened to Halo, you know, because Halo was that game for Xbox for so long. And you can't really say that anymore. They have to really find a way to revitalize that franchise. I would full reboot it. Full reboot. I like wipe the slate clean. I would go all the way back and completely restart this franchise if I was at Microsoft. I know some hardcore Halo fans would be very salty about that. I think the whole franchise has too much baggage now. And I know that Halo Infinite was a soft reboot. I'm talking hard reboot. I'd reboot the whole thing. I would just restart Halo. But Halo is one of those that's a killer app. Other ones, I mean, we'll look at future ones. What future ones could be? The Last of Us Part 3. After what happened with The Last of Us TV series, Part 3 would have huge impact. It's interesting because The Last of Us is such an interesting IP in that it was massively successful with the first game. Then the second game, which I think is an incredible game, but again was met very mixed by the fan base. Okay, so let's just say it was very controversial, whichever side of the line you fall on. And then all of a sudden it felt like The Last of Us was like in a very weird spot as a brand. It was still not a small brand. I mean, Part 2 still sold over 10 million units. Lots of games would kill to sell more than 10 million copies. But it did feel like, man, like The Last of Us is just in such a weird spot as a brand. Like, how do they continue this? Then you had the show, and the show changed everything. It was an unbelievable hit. Like, we're not talking a minor hit. We're talking an unbelievable hit in terms of ratings. It's the biggest HBO streaming series ever in Latin America and Europe. Crazy. And it did huge, monstrous numbers in the United States as well. So Part 3, whenever that gets announced, that's going to be huge, dude. Part 3 is going to be huge. Now, when that's going to happen, I don't know. But that thing is going to be massive. I would also say that for Sony, God of War has become that. If you look at the sales numbers for Ragnarok, if you look at all the hardware PS5 has been moving since the holidays on, Ragnarok had some impact on that, not fully. The most important metric that pushed PS5 hardware sales was availability. But make no mistake, God of War Ragnarok was also part of that. I know it was on PS4, but a lot of people want to play it in the best way possible. That game sold over 11 million units in a very short amount of time. So that's a few that stand out. Unfortunately for Xbox right now, it feels like they don't have any that are that level. That doesn't mean I don't think Xbox has some great games, but right now I would have said 100% Halo, but Halo has taken such a hit. Starfield is the next potential for Xbox, potential to have serious hardware moving impact, but it has to be good. Starfield has to be amazing. And then we'll see what kind of impact that can have. Sorry, I'm scrolling down. Louise SR here with a member question. Hi, Benji. Hope you're doing great. Do you think it's likely that Sony could break the internet next week by closing the showcase with GTA 6? And thank you, Highlander, for the gifted membership. So, there's a chance. I know that sounds crazy. There is a chance Grand Theft Auto 6 is there. Now, do I consider it a lock? No. But here's the thing, guys. I am very confident now that GTA 6 is being announced this year. And I've been saying that for a while. I've been saying that since last year, that I thought that this year, 2023, was the year you would see Grand Theft Auto 6 officially announced. Now, IGN ran an article about this, and boy, oh boy, does their financial forecast point out. Listen, guys, I'm telling you right now, they themselves didn't say this. Take-Two is targeting that GTA 6 is launching next year. They are. If you look at their forecast, they're forecasting insane growth in revenue. Insane. Growth so large, there is only one game that can do that. And that is Grand Theft Auto 6 for their next fiscal year. Now, technically, that would go through the beginning, the first 3 months of 2025. However, I think 9 months of it's in 2024. I think they are targeting next year. Now, keep in mind, this is Rockstar, so that could definitely get delayed. Rockstar is known for delays. So, but right now, they are targeting next year. I am very confident in that. So that means they got to announce this bad boy this year. Now, could it be at the Sony showcase? There's actually a slim chance of this. And the only reason there's a slim chance of this is that PlayStation probably will have the marketing deal on GTA 6. I am expecting that. They had marketing rights on GTA 5 at times. They marketed the PlayStation 4 remaster, for example. And we've seen, like, even though it went into both, we've seen, the Definitive Edition games get put on PlayStation Plus, Premium and Extra. Now, they also were put into Game Pass at times, too. But I am expecting that Sony has marketing deal for GTA 6. So, Luis, I would say there is a slim chance. I don't, however, put it as likely, Luis, because I think GTA 6 is so big that it will be its own event. I think when Rockstar decides we're going to show GTA 6, they ain't going to want that near anything. Because even though GTA 6 would overshadow everything at this PlayStation Showcase anyways, Rockstar would still have to be sharing the stage and sharing the event with those games. I think they know GTA 6 is such a big deal, they don't want to share a stage with no one. They want the whole day to themselves when they announce it. So I would put it as slim. There is a chance it could be here. But I still think it just gets announced on its own. But I do think 1,000% that announcement's this year. You will see GTA 6 this year, yes. Won't come out this year, but they'll announce it this year. Where we at? Highlander with another super chat. Jeez, Highlander, you're unbelievably generous this stream. Whether it's gifting memberships or super chats. Holy cow, Highlander. Calm down, man. You're first of all, I'm incredibly thankful, but holy cow. You're going to barbecue. Your choices to bring something are potato salad or mac and cheese. What do you bring? Eggs do not belong in potato salad. Highlander, this is easy for me. It's mac and cheese. Now, don't get me wrong. I love potato salad. However, I am Italian. I'm more Italian than anything. I have a bunch of stuff. I'm a mix. I'm a mutt. Kind of like a lot of people in the U.S. are, right? A lot of us, the United States has so much immigration over the years that, like, most of us are a huge mix, right? So I am as well. However, the thing I am more than anything is I'm Italian. And listen, anything with a noodle sings to me. Okay, I am a pasta fanatic, and I know mac and cheese isn't your traditional pasta, but listen, it's a noodle, and I am a pasta fiend. I literally, this isn't an exaggeration, I eat pasta every single day, every day. Now, I eat gluten-free pasta every day, but I eat pasta every day, 7 days a week I eat pasta. So yes, it's mac and cheese, no question. I like potato salad. but mac and cheese. Dead Planet with a 5 super chat. Obviously, Hellblade 2 is the second game, but don't you get the feeling that it's going to be the game that captures what Ninja Theory wants Hellblade to be? I am expecting Hellblade 2 to be way more ambitious than the first game. Now, Hellblade 1 is awesome, but Hellblade 1 was whenever Ninja Theory was an independent company. They weren't exactly in a super financially successful spot at the time, and it was just like a small side project that they kind of, were doing. That was a very small team. This is going to be a flagship first-party game. They have the funding and the backing of Xbox. So Dead Planet, yeah, I'm expecting Hellblade 2 to be way more ambitious than Hellblade 1. Does that mean I think Hellblade 2 is going to come out and be a 40 or 50 hour game? That's not what I'm saying. But in terms of scope, do I think Hellblade 2 will be vastly bigger in scope than Hellblade 1? Yes, significantly so. Significantly so. This is going to be looked at as a flagship first-party title. So, because keep in mind, this is not like Bethesda. With Bethesda, we found out, unfortunately, in my opinion, that they're still essentially being ran as two separate companies. Yes, there's some oversight from Phil, but Bethesda's kind of doing their thing, and Xbox Studios are kind of doing their thing, and that's part of, it sounds like, part of the issues with Redfall can be somewhat accounted to that. Now, not fully, but some of the issues seem to come from that. That's not the case with Ninja Theory. Ninja Theory is part of Xbox Studios. That is not Bethesda. That is directly under Matt Booty. That is directly just like a Turn 10 or a 343 or a Coalition are. That is Xbox Studios. So, yeah, I expect this to be positioned very strongly. Now, whether it's good or not, who knows? But yeah, it should be way more ambitious than the first game. And then, Highlander's Super Chat accidentally went on there twice. Okay. All Super Chats are hit. All members have had at least one question answered. I can only go for like 5 or 10 more minutes. And then I have to leave because I got to work today. So it's going to be a quick last few questions for like 5 or 10 minutes. I might be able to push it for 10 because I know there's so much that I haven't gotten to. Unfortunately, I've now lost the top of the chat because the chat's too big. Hello, J-Cat. Thanks for being in the stream, and thank you for helping mod the channel. Lumen, back whenever I had an echo. Is this what schizophrenia is like? God, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. The Hunter's Dream. Do you think there is a possibility to see Bloodborne remastered? There are rumblings about a Bloodborne return is all I'll say. Whether I believe them or not, I don't know. I will tell you, though, the rumblings are there. And I hadn't heard rumblings about Bloodborne really before. This is like the first time that the whispers are somewhat believable. But I don't know, guys. Take that with a huge grain of salt. But there are whispers about Bloodborne. Let's see. Let's see. Joseph XP1, or just X1. Benji, why do people keep bashing Sony for getting timed exclusive games while praising Microsoft for buying entire publishers and gatekeeping their games? Microsoft also gets a lot of timed exclusive games, and some games were never released on PlayStation like Dead Rising 3 and Titanfall. Yeah, I don't really care about this sort of thing, but I'm also someone that buys every console, so... You know, for me, it's like, I don't care. Like, Sony can sign exclusives, Xbox can sign exclusives, whatever. Like, I'll just play them on whatever platform they come to. However, I know that that is not the position most people can. So, Joseph, the reason why you see pushback in regards to this sort of stuff is that some people can only buy one. So, if you can only buy an Xbox and you really like, you know, Final Fantasy, And now you find out, well, I can't get Final Fantasy games this gen whenever I got them on Xbox One because Sony keeps buying exclusivity to all of them. That's very frustrating. Not everyone can buy every console. And I think the reason why you might see a little bit more of Sony get pushed back online compared to Xbox is because Sony is in so much stronger of a position than Xbox. Now, I'm not saying that's fair, but I'm saying Xbox is seen in many ways as an underdog. And I know that sounds funny considering Microsoft is one of the richest companies on the planet. But in regards to the video game market, Sony is way more dominant than Xbox. So I think that might also be part of why people are a little more understanding about online, about Xbox signing deals or buying exclusives because they're not in any position of dominance, whereas Sony is. So that's why some people might be a bit more critical. However, it's all just noise. I don't really concern myself with that stuff much. Galaxy Venus, do you think we'll see Wolverine here? I would say there is a real chance, yes. Insomniac might double up. Word is that Wolverine is releasing in 2024. So Spider-Man 2 is obviously going to be here. It's obviously going to get a release date. It's obviously going to get a collector's edition announcement and pre-order start probably. But Insomniac might double up. They've done it before in showcases. They announced Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine at the exact same time. They also one year had, I think it was Miles Morales and Ratchet and Clank in the same show. So it could, yeah. Insomniac definitely could. I would say if you see Wolverine, don't expect a blowout. The blowout is going to be Spider-Man 2. You're going to see a lot of Spider-Man 2. It ain't going to be a short 1-minute trailer. They're going to show you a lot of it. They're going to give it a release date. But maybe, not a lock, but maybe you see a short 1 to 2 minute trailer for Wolverine. Wouldn't shock me. Luis SR is betting that Resident Evil 9 will be here. Could be, yeah. Could be. Capcom likes to have a Resident Evil game every year. And 4 remakes already out. So they'll want to announce 9 at some point. And if 9 is targeting early next year, we don't know. But if it is, kind of like what Village and 4 Remake have done, not impossible. Not impossible. We'll see, though. Ditto News says, Mexico! What is up, Ditto News? I'm guessing you're from Mexico. Great to see people from all over the world in chat. I love it. Sam Thompson says, yo, love these streams. Well, thank you so much. All right, let me scroll down. I'm going to get a couple questions from the bottom, and then we're going to bail for people that are still in the stream. Couple people from the bottom, and then we're out. Because some of these people from earlier might be gone. Danger Man says, I think Naughty Dog should do The Last of Us Part 3 to wrap it all up. They will 1000% do The Last of Us Part 3. There's a 0% chance they won't do it. The big debate is if Part 3 is Naughty Dog's next game or if they're doing something else first, and I do not know the answer to that question. I do know that Neil Druckmann's working on his next game. That's official. Neil Druckmann himself has said that. He has started on his next project because keep in mind, he is not the director of the multiplayer game. Of course, he's going to give some feedback. It's an IP that he created. He's going to be involved, right? He's going to give some oversight, I'm sure, and he's going to give his opinions on the game. But Neil Druckmann, day to day, is not directing the multiplayer game. He is now on his next project, however, that he is the director of. The question is that The Last of Us or is it something else? We do know as well that Neil Druckmann has flat out said that they already have the one sheet for The Last of Us Part 3. For anyone that wants to know what a one sheet is, if you don't know, That means it's exactly how it sounds. You have a one sheet, it's like just one page, and it's your essential story outline for what a game or movie is. There's no in-depth detail. It's not, we have the entire thing plotted out in every way, but it's just like, hey, here's the concept about what this is. Like we've known, they know what part 3 is. They don't know all the details, but Neil himself had already made the one sheet for part 3. So it's coming. Whether that's their next game or not, who knows? But yes, The Last of Us Part 3 will 100% happen, whether that's Neil's next game or the one after that. Exo says, I don't think Grand Theft Auto 6 is ready yet, though. At the end of the year, more likely. Exo, I also agree. If I had to lean to when I think GTA 6 will be announced, it will be later this year. Yes, not until like fall or winter for a 2024 release. And Dangerman says, I wonder if they think Grand Theft Auto 6 is a lock at the end of the 2024 calendar year. When they're targeting, I'm not sure. It is their next fiscal year, though. It's impossible to get the growth they project without GTA 6. So GTA 6 is in that forecast, yes. They're not saying it, but the number they gave, you don't hit that number without it. Oh, what a nice comment here from Matiz Broha here. Hello, your channel and Twitter account are very professional. Greetings from Poland. Well, greetings to you in Poland. That's very kind of you to say. I try to be. I try to not be clickbaity. I try to not be gimmicky. I try to not be a hot takes kind of guy. That doesn't mean I won't give you guys my opinion. I've been giving you guys my opinion this whole stream. But yeah, I try to be professional. I'm one of those people that cares a lot more about facts than I care about feelings, and that is hit or miss. Sometimes when you're focused so much on logic and facts, that can make you disconnected from your feelings. And I think that's probably a big part of why I have anxiety and depression issues. I think a lot of times I try to ignore things that I'm feeling in my life, and that builds up, and that's what causes me to spiral. I really truly think so, because I'm focused so much on just facts, logic. But we're all human beings, and feelings are things that we have, and emotions, and we feel things, and I kind of ignore that too much sometimes. But that's part of why my channel, my Twitter, I try to keep it professional. Red Dead Series says GTA 6 will be announced for 2024 and then delayed to 2025. There's a very real chance of that, yes. There's a very real chance. It's Rockstar, guys. There's not a doubt in my mind they're targeting next fiscal year. However, whether that actually happens, we will see. You can't tell with Rockstar. Oh, and then Split End says they did the PS Plus deal for online as well. Exactly. I do expect Sony has marketing rights for GTA 6 one way or another. And then you guys are saying no one wants to share with GTA 6 either. I agree. Let GTA 6 be its own announcement. I know it would be incredibly hype to close the PlayStation Showcase with GTA 6. That thing's so monstrous. Just make it its own thing. Uncensored Maverick says, based pasta enjoyer. I am. I'm a fanatic. I'm not exaggerating. Every day of my life. All right, we're about to wrap this up. Newt says, poor $1 trillion company. Yeah. All right, we're about to close this. Oh, I missed Split End's member question. Here it is. All right, we're going to close with... we're going to close with just these comments here at the end. Split End, I apologize for missing. You're right. You are a member, and I didn't get you a member question yet. I'm sorry, dude. With Tears of the Kingdom's success, especially at $70, what other gaming franchises, not just Nintendo, can charge that price without people even blinking at it? Crazy that Tears of the Kingdom did it, but I'm not surprised at all. Grand Theft Auto, there's a 0% chance Grand Theft Auto is not $70. Other franchises we haven't seen at 70 yet. Like I said, the obvious one's GTA. There's a 0% chance GTA is priced below 70. Obviously, all Sony first party because that's just set in stone. Whatever Naughty Dog's next game is $70. So what other franchises though could like break records at 70 and not even blink? Honestly, like I said, Split End, it's most of them now. I mean, Jedi Survivor just sold exceptionally well at $70. Zelda. I mean, the reality is that the data shows us that for big brands, again, there's always the risk with, I would say, new IP. $70 is a bit risky, you know, just because people don't know yet if your game's good. And like smaller, not super huge projects like giant open worlds or based off big brands, you know, those ones are still a little more up in the air. But at this point, we've seen way too many games just be hugely successful at $70 to feel like it's a huge hindrance anymore to most big flagship games. Like the reality is that we've got the data. It played out. $70 has been mostly accepted by consumers. And we're going to end it here just because it's a nice one from Ninja Rec. Me and you both, brother, literally the same when it comes to the spiraling from disconnecting from feelings due to facts and logic. Yes, that's one thing I'm learning. I ignored this most of my life. So I'll close on this really, really fast. If you are someone like me that's always so focused on logic, data, science, you know, I just want things, you know, factual and that's all I care about. And I don't care about feelings. They are meaningless because I've told myself this sort of stuff all my life. I will tell you, I have learned finally, I think I finally took the learning lesson. At the end of the day, we're biological beings. We're not a computer. You know, it's easy to be so focused. And I still think it's important to look at the facts. It's important to be logical. I think these things are very important, guys. But I'm finally learning the lesson. We're not a computer, all right? And the reality is that whether you try to ignore them or not, we do have emotions and we do have feelings. And even if you yourself at the time think I'm handling this well, I don't even feel this, I'm great, I'm doing amazing, like, you know, doesn't matter if this thing upset me because I'm going to get through it because logically it doesn't make sense to focus on it. You can tell yourself all that you want. Your subconscious feels it. So you guys, we do need to be connected to our feelings somewhat. Now, I think there's limits. You don't want to be ruled by your emotions, right? Because then you can go too far the other way, where you let your emotions run you so much that you lose sight of logic and reality. It's this complicated balance, man. You got to be realistic. You got to be logical. But at the same time, you also have to be aware of your emotions. You have to be aware of what you're feeling, and you do have to address those things, whether they're good emotions, whether they're negative emotions. You can't ignore them. If you just ignore them, and if you just tell yourself you're fine and it's not real, at some point, that's going to bubble up and it's going to bite you in the butt. So guys, learn from my mistakes. If you are that way like I am, you gotta address them. Okay, guys, I'm gonna bounce out there. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for all of the kind words. Oh yeah, we're gonna end the poll. The last poll, JCat just reminded me. I asked, where do you expect lifetime Tears of the Kingdom sales to hit? 36% of you say 30 million range. So 36% of you think it's gonna sell basically like Breath of the Wild levels. 50% of you wins the poll and say that 40 million. So you're expecting some improvement over Breath of the Wild. Again, maybe eventually Breath of the Wild gets there, but you're essentially expecting it to sell faster than Breath of the Wild, hit that 40 mil number. And then 14% of you go so strong that you're saying 50 million plus. You guys think that thing is going to hit Mario Kart levels. Okay, guys, I'm wrapping the stream up there. I got to go to work. Thank you for the great turnout today. We were over 100 the entire stream. We didn't even dip below 100 like once. That's amazing, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for all of the super chats. That was incredibly kind. Thank you to everyone that has become a member. Thank you to Highlander for gifting 5 memberships, Split End for gifting a membership. And I'm going to bounce out, guys. As always, stay safe, play some games. I will see you either here on YouTube next week if you only follow me here. But if you follow me on Twitter, you will see me very, very, very soon on Twitter later today. Have a good one, guys. You're all the best. Love you. And I'll see you soon. Go play some Zelda. Go play some PlayStation or Xbox. Go play something and have some fun. Bye, guys. Bye, 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 bye. Bye, bye, bye.